This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your source for the latest Iowa ag news headlines right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, Mark Magnuson, and Andy Peterson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Mark.
Hello and welcome into Ag Matters PM on the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Mark Magnuson. Today is Wednesday, July 9th, 2025, and we're so glad you can join us for today's show. In today's episode, I will be joined in the closing markets by Jason Meyer of agmarket.net as we have a little bit more strength in the grain markets today compared to recent days, and that will be coming up later in the show. But first, I'm joined by Joe McClure of the Iowa Soybean Association for the latest edition of Between the Pods.
It's time to go between the pods with the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network and the Iowa Soybean Association. For the next year, we will explore the ways Iowa-grown soybeans are making a difference at home and around the world. Now, here's your host of Between the Pods, Mark Magnuson.
Mark Magnuson for the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, and I'm joined today by Joe McClure. We're at the Iowa Soybean Association for Between the Pods. Joe, thanks so much for taking the time to join me here today. Could you remind me your job title here at ISA?
Yeah, Joe McClure. I'm the Chief Officer of the Research Center for Farming Innovation here at ISA.
And Joe, I know you play a big part in the effort to help with conservation and that water quality effort as well. Where do we stand right now with, the effort that Iowa Soybean Association and its various parts of the organization in making that and taking those steps forward?
Well, it's definitely a hot topic, but it is good to say that Iowa is a leader in the nation on cover crop adoption. Percentage-wise, number of acres-wise, there is a large push to do a lot of edge-of-field activities to treat water coming out of the field. And so from an Iowa soybean point of view, there are more customers, more farmers want to do projects than we have time to do. So there's no shortage of opportunity there. There's a shortage of being able to get those practices on the ground. And so we're feeling pretty good about the effort and the desire of our ag community to get these things done. Now it's just getting them out there.
And I was just having this conversation with someone the other day, just going off of anecdotal evidence of my own eyeballs driving around the countryside, it does seem like I see fewer and fewer farmers each year with those fully tilled fields. We see more farmers using cover crops. Do you have those numbers then to back that up, like you said, with Iowa being that leader in the field?
Definitely on the cover crops. I think we probably have a little less numbers on the tillage, but on cover crops, yeah, we're 15% cover cropped in Iowa. And the amount of percentage from 2017 when some of the numbers I'm remembering on top of my head, it's tremendous, the number of the percentage points difference that's happening today. And not only that, the farmers are doing it year after year. They're expanding on their own farms, and new farmers are getting involved. It's not just one farmer growing his or her own operation. It's across the board.
And that commitment to profitability when it comes to those cover crops and these conservation practices, not only do farmers, want to do these conservation practices because it's the right thing to do in terms of the environment, but they also have that financial benefit as well.
There is some risk that comes along with it, but these farmers are learning how to mitigate that risk. They're learning how to use cover crops to alter how they farm, whether it be tillage, whether it be inputs like fertilizer or herbicide. And so they're making it work, and they're making it work for all their goals on their farm. Their goals may be around soil erosion loss, as well as using it for cover crop for soil health and other things. And so they're able to use these practices to meet many of their goals on their farm.
And what have you found, Joe, as that biggest barrier for getting a farmer to get on board with these practices? Is it just knowledge and having that information base?
It is the commitment to really lean into it, and it's not a secondary practice. You have to farm your cover crops like a cash crop. You have to be committed. If it's, I'll get that done on the rainy day, it will fail, and you will have a bad experience, and you'll go away from cover cropping for 5 years. So you have to have that commitment. So we always talk about lean on people that partners, neighbors, agronomists, as well as start small in order to have that good year experience.
And Joe, when we talk about 4R, could you explain that a little bit, please?
4R is taking it a little bit further. So 4R is the fertilizer management. So right rate, right time, right product, and right placement. The 4R plus, and then you add the conservation practices. using 4R plus the conservation practices is a great way to get every dollar out of your fertilizer bill, to get every pound of fertilizer into that crop, and then nothing that leaves your farm, or very minimal to leave your farm. So putting all those things together is a great way to achieve that.
So at the end of the day, it's all about that efficiency of using using that nitrogen, and then lessening that nitrate that makes it into the water. And of course, that helps to benefit the water quality. We want to have that water quality, and all farmers are on board with that.
Absolutely. Nobody wants to put fertilizer out there that doesn't go into the crops. So from an economic point of view, they want every pound of fertilizer to go into the crops. And then every neighbor and every farmer as well wants that water to stay, that fertilizer to stay where it belongs, to be able to drive that.
And when we talk about some of the conservation practices, like an oxbow restoration, for example, not every single farmer is going to have that opportunity on their farm, but there are a lot of conservation practices that go throughout the entire state that any farm could implement, correct?
Yeah, the obvious one is cover crops on your tillable acre. That can happen anywhere. But there's Iowa is the most predominantly drained state in the country, so there's a lot of opportunities to mitigate tile drainage water on every farm. It's not just landscape dependent. There's a lot of areas across the state on almost every farm where you can actually mitigate that water and treat that water leaving your farm and use it again in some instances.
And when we think about, these practices being implemented, and a listener might be saying, well, how do they, back that up that the nitrate level is being reduced? Well, Iowa Soybean Association, a big part of that in going to those outputs on a tile drain, for example, or coming out of a wetland, an oxbow restoration, you guys do actually the measurements to see that, hey, this has reduced nitrates by such and such a percent.
Absolutely. We have a certified water quality lab in our building, and we test before and after before and after bioreactors and saturated buffer situations. We test tile drainage, we test stream drainage, and we have the numbers to show when practices are used. Here's the expected results. Year in, year out, we can see that effect.
Joe, a couple of events coming up from Iowa Soybean Association at the start of July. Could you tell us a little bit about those, please?
Yeah, on July 8th, we'll be out in Lorville and doing an innovation to profit focused on cover cropping as well as edge of field practices in that area of the state. We have a grant that we're fulfilling there, and we've got a lot of farmers signing up to do that. We're always looking for more participation, and we'll have some agronomic knowledge out there as well. We'll like to couple our research with our conservation everywhere we go. The other event is our 4R event that will be in Waterloo at Hawkeye Community College on July 10th. And that is a 4R Plus. We'll have essentially all partners in Iowa that is ag-based that will be coming together and helping sponsor that. Iowa Soybeans leading that effort. And we'll be at like I said, Hawkeye Community College for a 4R Plus field day where we'll have speakers from Iowa State, Iowa Soybean, sign-up opportunities, some industry with new product ideas, a full day of ideas on 4R and 4R Plus.
And it's always kind of cool to see these events as they move to different areas of the state, getting different people involved in all four corners. And then, Joe, is there anything on the research side of things in terms of trials that you're working on right now, or any other conservation efforts that you'd like to highlight?
Yeah, so on the research side, we've got been a lot of partnerships with Iowa State as well as our own research. From a water quality, we're showing that we're validating that planting earlier, either our research or Iowa State's, again getting those active roots in the ground a little bit earlier. They help from a water quality point of view because you get active roots in there, you start using up the nitrogen sources. That we've been showing value in the yields from corn and soy being planted earlier, as well as reducing our inputs. So we've had a lot of research where we can show that reducing inputs can really drive the economics on the farm. We don't need to have as much product, whether it's seed or chemical or fertilizer, always as we think. So a lot of research going out there. And then on a conservation space, our Farmers for Soil Health project is back rolling after an impromptu stall. And lots of great opportunities there, and new opportunities coming up for 25 signups very, very soon.
So, Joe, kind of to just put a big bow on it all, everything we've talked about here today are ways that help a farmer to farm more efficiently, but still having that efficacy behind these farming practices. And so in the end, you look at it, it is a win-win.
Absolutely. We focus on profitability and productivity, and with that, sustainability. We cannot have a sustainable minded farmer who's not economical, be able to drive that farm and hand that down to the next generation.
Joe, is there anything else you'd like to let our Iowa viewers and listeners know about when it comes to the things we've discussed here today, or anything else you're excited about with ISA right now?
Well, I think we're always looking for new participants, new farmers to work with. Visit us at www.iasoybeans.com or reach out to one of our agronomists. We'd love to have new farmers participating in conservation or in research.
He's Joe McClure with the Iowa Soybean Association for Between the Pods. Joe, thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you to Joe McClure of the Iowa Soybean Association for joining today's show for Between the Pods. It is time now for the closing markets, and I will be joined by Jason Meyer of agmarket.net. But first, a word from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soybean Checkoff.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
It's time now for the closing markets on Ag Matters PM, and I'm joined now by Jason Meyer of agmarket.net. Jason, how did we trade in the grains today?
We actually saw a little bit of green in the corn market, so corn was up a penny or two, so that was nice to see. There's some talk that we could potentially have a trade agreement with India come to fruition, and also there's some talk that we might be seeing some short covering going into the USDA report on Friday. The bean market was a little bit different story. It was down double digits today. We have soybean meal and soybean oil lower on the day as well. Just we got great weather, some rain coming, and non-threatening weather. So that's definitely pressuring the soybeans as we enter into their crucial period of development in the month of August here.
And Jason, looking at that upcoming forecast for the near future, very good news for crop growth, as there's pretty regular rainfall in that forecast. And then as we've seen, these hot and dry days in between. But on the flip side of that, of course, it does put some pressure on the ag marketplace.
That's for sure. They always used to say rain makes grain. That old adage still is in play. Majority of the Corn Belt is getting rain, and temperatures aren't really above that 90-degree mark, so that's important for pollination on corn. So with no weather issues, there's no reason to put any weather premium into the marketplace right now.
And then we'll close out this week with a WASDE report. What do you make of what we could see in the WASDE report, knowing that we've gotten all this other information here recently from USDA?
The big thing to watch out is going to be the old crop U.S. corn stocks. Now, exports have been running phenomenal. Are we going to see the government increase exports here? We should. So that should be a positive to the balance sheet. But is that going to be offset by some loss in feed demand? And that's the big wild card the market is trying to look at. The bean market, probably not many changes we're going to see, but the big thing to watch is what is the old crop ending stocks on corn going to be.
On the other side of the ag marketplace, how did the livestock trade here today?
Feeder cattle and fat cattle continue to make new contract highs here today. I just think there's a lot of technical buying. News out there in the cattle world is rather quiet today. No big reason for the huge rally yesterday. There's some light cash trade going on, but just the buyers continue to buy the fats and the feeders here. Then the hog market, after being down a couple days, it maybe feels like we're starting to find a bottom, and we saw some technical buying, especially in the deferred months in the hog market today.
When you think back to yesterday and that price movement to the upside we saw for the cattle, was that a direct response to what we're seeing on the grain side of the market and just cheaper feed?
There's definitely a strong correlation with nearby corn futures breaking that psychological $4 barrier yesterday. A lot of the cattle guys are getting excited and say, hey, we got some cheap corn. We're going to feed these cattle. And there's definitely a direct correlation between cheaper corn and higher cattle prices.
Jason Meyer of agmarket.net, my guest here at closing market time on Ag Matters PM. Jason, what is the best way for our listeners to get in touch for more marketing information?
Check us out on our website at agmarket.net and give myself or one of my teammates a holler, and we'd be happy to speak with you.
Jason, thanks so much for the time. Always appreciate it, and have a great rest of your day.
You too, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you to Jason Meyer of agmarket.net for joining today's show for our closing market coverage. Let's take a look at the final numbers from today's trade, and we can find that anytime under the markets tab of our website at iowaagnet.com.
September corn closes up 1 1/4 at $3.99 1/4. August soybeans down 12 1/4 at $10.09 even. August soybean meal down $1.30 at $269.40. August soybean oil down 82 cents at $53.29. Chicago wheat down 3/4 cent at $5.47 even. Minneapolis wheat up a penny at $6.31. Kansas City hard red wheat up 1 1/2 at $5.24 even. September oats down 3 1/2 at $3.73 1/2. On the Merc, August live cattle down 20 cents at $219.78. August feeder cattle up $1.35 at $320.48. August lean hogs up 45 cents at $107.23. August pork cutout unchanged at $114.33. Class 3 milk up 9 cents at $17.32.
That wraps up our closing markets for today and brings us to the end of today's show. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook and X. And you can, as well as subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the notification icon to let you know whenever there's any new videos available for you to view. You can listen to our morning, midday, and closing market podcast at Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, Podbean, and YouTube. From the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network studios in Des Moines, I'm Mark Magnuson. For Dustin Huffman, Ashton Jolly, Andy Peterson, and Riley Smith, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.